Cherokee, Texas. So we came out to do an interview at his request. Turned it over an investigation to PETA about the pet blood bank here in Cherokee, Texas. So we came out to do an interview at his request, and we also will offer anybody else on the other side that wants to do an interview. Talking to Mr. William Larsen, and he is the one who admitted that he has turned it over an investigation to PETA about the pet blood bank here in Cherokee, Texas. So we came out to do an interview at his request, and we also will offer anybody else on the other side that wants to do an on-camera interview too. They're welcome to contact us, and we'll do the same thing. But anyway, we'll get started. So when you turned it over to PETA, there's claims made that you were being paid by them. Have you received any compensation from PETA?
None whatsoever.
None at all?
Wouldn't have taken it if they offered it.
Okay. So the information you turned over to them, when did you turn it over?
The exact date, I don't remember. I was here about 3-4 months, so it would have been December, January, February, probably around March. And that's just kind of a guesstimate. But
and that's one of the claims, is that they were paying you to do this, so you haven't received any compensation from PETA at all. Have you received any compensation from anybody else?
Nobody.
Another thing that was brought up was that you were paid, started a GoFundMe account for the dogs for the shelter out there.
I did.
To feed them and that sort of thing. Did you start a GoFundMe account?
I absolutely did.
And did you keep the money, or did you turn it over to them?
I spent it on 7 Dust, canned dog food, and a different kind of spray.
Okay,
Because
so
of the...
You used the money for out there.
Yes.
You didn't give it to the owner.
Yes.
You used it. Okay.
And without their knowledge, I bought 7 Dust and started treating the dogs because the ticks were so horrendous. There's more than I could even pick off.
Okay. And some other stuff too that they brought up. They said people have brought up that you're an ex-Ronald employee. What do you have to say about that?
I have a great deal of respect for John and Ann. They have treated me like gold for the entire time that I've known them. I have a great deal of affection for both of them, and I regret that they're having to suffer for this. It's the first time in his life that he's actually had money and was talking about taking his wife on a vacation.
And who is this, John and Ann?
Yep, John and Ann. That's Shane's mom and dad.
Okay, so the family owns the operation.
Yes. John's actually president, Ann's the vice president, and Shane is the secretary.
So do you know why they put Shane's name on the billboard instead of the other people?
Well, that was one of my agreements with PETA from the beginning. They would leave those people out. They would leave their name out, and if they did not, I would not work with them.
Okay, so, but again, you didn't receive any compensation from
No.
And so how long ago did you work out there?
I worked from the beginning of December 16 to the end of July 2017.
So recently,
Yes,
July.
yes.
So were the photos that you took and the videos, were they taken while you were there?
Yes,
There?
yes.
That's recent. It's not something that goes back 5 years ago.
No.
It was taken this year or the end of last year at the latest.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And did you tell them anything about the dogs as far as the conditions, or?
I brought up everything. I looked Shane Altsizer square in the eye, and I said, there's no way that you're not shipping out tick-borne disease in this blood. He said, we have all the dogs tested before they're brought in the kennel. And I said, Shane, I picked off 400 ticks today, and I showed him a bucket of ticks. I put 7 Dust in the bottom, and I just throw them in a bucket when I pick them off. He just looked at me and walked off.
Okay. So you were out there December through June?
July, end of July.
End of July. And when were the videos and pictures taken? More towards December or more towards July?
It's fairly evenly spread. All of the photos where the kennel looks the worst were probably December, January, February, and March.
So when you were working out there, then you made you say you made improvements.
I did.
Okay.
That's actually why I took that job, was because I knew how the conditions were, and I thought I could do something for the dogs.
Okay.
And
so did you report it to anybody besides people, such as the sheriff's department or animal control or anybody else?
No, well, I tried to call a state regulatory agency that regulates kennels, and they said that the only thing that they regulated were kennels where dogs were bred for sale of their puppies.
So there's no regulation of blood banks?
Nope, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
I also contacted SPCA. They said their jurisdiction didn't come out here.
Okay, what SPCA was that?
I contacted Dallas.
Dallas, okay. And so did you contact the sheriff's department or anything?
I did not.
So how do you know, if you know, you can say, do you know how the sheriff's department went out there or ended up out there? The owners say that the sheriff's department came out, did an inspection, found nothing wrong, and that's in the media release from the sheriff's department.
Yes.
So do you know how they ended up out there? Or?
Shane Altsizer called him. Although PETA had called the sheriff about 3 days prior to that, and they
contacted the sheriff's department.
And they did not react.
Did not react until Shane said to come out or something.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And to your knowledge, do you know if PETA's been out here at all? Sent an investigator out if they have them. I don't know if they have them or not. Have they been out on the premises or in the area, or have they requested to be out here?
They came out, and 2 people stayed for 1 week.
So PETA was actually out here?
Yes. And
they have access to the property?
No. They refused to even go near the property. They said because of their stigma that they didn't do things like that anymore, and they had to be above board in everything that they did.
Okay.
They would just depose me every morning.
Okay, so they actually
every evening.
They actually came here and talked to you?
Yep, they would come here every evening and tell me what went on. They'd ask me what went on at the kennel that day, and I would tell them.
So you were still employed for them?
I was.
You were meeting with PETA?
Yes.
Okay, so they were in the area, but they didn't want to go to the kennels or whatever.
Yeah, they said
bank.
Exactly.
Okay. And so what made you quit from out there?
I have a job come up. I actually do consulting work.
Okay.
And big job came up, and I said, sorry, I only gave him like 1 day's notice because that's the only notice I had.
So you had already started the process before you actually quit from out there. You didn't quit and then contact PETA.
No.
So you started the process before you actually.
Yeah, way before.
Okay. And the pictures and stuff that you took, you said they were done in throughout the 6 or 7 months that you were out there. And did anyone out there know that you were filming them or taking pictures? Or anything?
Oh yeah.
No.
I mean, yes, I had the camera out regularly.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. In fact, there was a truck that trespassed, and I brought out my camera and I showed John that I had taken a picture of this truck that was doing something suspicious out there.
Okay. So it was kind of normal for you to have a camera with you anyway.
Yes, I took it every day.
So were you involved in the blood drawing process out there?
Only the first week.
First week.
And I said that I thought my use would be better out there. I do physical labor.
Okay.
And I thought my helpfulness would be better spent out there fixing things, plumbing and drainage and picks and axe and, shoveling things and stuff like that. But anyway.
Okay. And so y'all didn't have a disagreement or anything when you quit? You
No.
noticed and quit?
My paycheck was supposed to have been $400 my last week, and he was so pleased with the job that I did, he gave me a check for $600 and said thank you very much and was very happy.
So is that the first time you worked out there? Was this or last year, the end of last year and this year? Is that the first time you ever worked for him?
I worked there in 2007, and then there was a couple 2-week periods or 1-week periods where I would fill in for folks out there.
Oh, okay. So you had worked out there previously, and did you quit back then, or?
Yeah, my wife and I both got hired in Austin at a consulting company. Is why we quit the last time. In 2007.
Okay, then you went back this year. In 2007, who owned it in 2007?
What was her name? Mark and Paul. Mark. I can't think of his name, and then Paul Covell.
Okay, because I talked to some people out there, and they're saying that the video and the still photos were shot during the previous owner's tenure out there. So that's not correct. They were shot the end of that last year and this year, and so they were shot with the current owners out there.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Altsizers have run the pet blood bank since 2006, but at least back to 2007. They managed it.
They managed it. They didn't actually until 2015. 2015, I guess it was.
Yes.
And that's when they purchased it from whoever else had it before.
Yeah.
In your opinion, have the conditions gotten worse in the last couple of years, or last 2 years, or have they gotten better than what they were previously?
They've gotten worse. There were some issues in the past with fleas, but the overall conditions and the conditions of the dogs were just way worse. When I went back in December, I've never seen anything that horrific in my life, as far as the dogs were concerned.
And how many dogs do they house? I know it probably varies because some, I was told by them that they adopt out some. I don't know if they do or not. That's what they told me. That they do regular adoptions each week. So how many dogs on average are out there?
Well, when I started, there were 218. 67 mysteriously disappeared.
67 dogs disappeared?
Yeah, in 2 weekends.
Over a period of 2 weekends?
Over 40 the first weekend and about 27 the second weekend.
Do you work on the weekends?
I do not. I only worked about 3 days or 4 days a week.
So you noticed the dogs missing when you came back on Monday?
And I said, where did they go? And they said, well, a rescue agency came and picked them up. I said, what rescue agency? And they said, oh, it was one from out of town. And as I was looking at that, I can look over and see a brand new area of turned dirt over where we normally bury the dogs.
Okay.
When they, deceased. And it was a very large area.
So how many dogs was it that disappeared? 67?
67, 40 the first weekend. And then I came back in on another Monday, and whoa, there was John and Ann there. Anyway, and I came back in, and now there was a second area next to the first area of disturbed soil. Something had been dug and completely covered over with fresh soil.
So is it normal for them to bury dogs out there? I mean,
yes.
In the course of work, they bury a few here and there, but
yes,
it's not normal to have 67 dogs disappear in 2 weekends.
And all of these dogs were old, and a lot of them were sick, and a lot of them had visible tumors on them. And I said, what rescue agency is going to come up and get all old dogs and dogs with visible tumors on them?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, a lot of people feel bad for them, and want a little house dog. And I was like, sure.
Okay. And I looked at their website, and I noticed on there, they don't say anything on their website about greyhounds. They say that they use donor dogs.
Volunteer donor
dogs. Has anyone ever brought a volunteer donor dog out there?
Not one. And if you click on the link to have your dog donate, it goes nowhere.
It goes nowhere. They don't accept donations from outside.
No, and they have 2 websites also, and the one is even more, for lack of a better term, nefarious looking. It just gives you a 1-800 number.
Okay, yeah, I've looked at one, and I don't remember which one it was, and I don't remember if I've seen any pictures or anything like that on it. So let's go forward a little bit now. Since you've been working with PETA sometime in June.
Oh, earlier than June, I think.
Than June.
It would have been probably March. I'm thinking like towards the end of March or April, somewhere in there. I'm not really sure. They would know.
So do you know when PETA contacted them, or did they ever contact them saying we got this information about you? Did they ever contact the owners?
I believe they did. I don't remember when.
You don't know when?
Oh, no, they didn't. I'm sorry. They first contacted the Washington Post and some other things. That's how Shane found out about it, was, I think, from interview by the Washington Post.
Okay, so that's how they found out about it.
Yeah.
So PETA never contacted them to see the dog's condition or anything like that, but they did come down here.
They did. They did.
Meet with you and look at the photos and the video.
Yes, yes.
And so do you know if PETA has field investigators, and do they go to sites, or?
I don't know. Like I said, while they were here, I said, you could probably come with me. They said, no, there'd be a trespassing issue. I said, well, you'd be guests of mine. I said, you should at least meet these dogs. And they said, no, we cannot go on that property, even with you.
Okay.
And they did not.
That's their policy.
That's their policy, yep.
Okay.
We just met at my house and we talked.
Okay. So, on the billboard that's going around town, I had a chance to interview the driver the other day, and he was taking a lot of flack from local people that as he was driving around town and stuff, people were flipping him off. They were flipping him off, and they were doing other things. And his company booked him a hotel in Llano, and when he checked into the hotel received several calls from various people saying that if that guy was allowed to stay at the hotel, that they wouldn't do business with the hotel, and they'd make sure that nobody else done business with the hotel too.
Wow.
So it's been rough for the driver, and he's just an independent driver for an AdTrans company, and so he has nothing to do with PETA. He has nothing to do with you.
No.
He's just a driver, and so I talked to him, and you know, so anyway, it was pretty rough for him. He was here 5 days, and so. Did PETA tell you there was going to be a billboard going around?
They did.
They did?
They sent me an email with a picture of it, and I told them that I thought it was way too personal for a small town like this and that they shouldn't do it.
Okay. There's also another suggestion that by people that the company, AdTrans, refused to run the first original billboard around town. And this is the second one that they agreed to run around.
Really?
So, do you know about the first one? Do you have any idea what it was?
Yeah, well, that was actually what was in the email, and it just had a bunch of other photos of the dogs similar to their post.
So there was another billboard, and the company turned it down for whatever reason. And then they went with the second billboard.
Yeah.
That's what he came here with.
Yeah, the other one was just way too personal, way too graphic.
Okay. And how long have you been in this area?
It would be about 8 years now.
8 years?
Just about.
So you've been here for a while, and you've worked in various places, and you've worked for them actually more than, I guess, when you first got here, I guess, you worked for them too.
Yeah.
Okay. And
so I guess actually that would be closer to 10 years.
10 years.
10 years or 11 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was 2007 when you worked for them originally. And it would be closer to 10 years. They also claim that some of the dogs are adopted out there. And so you said you've seen some dogs that were adopted out.
Yes, back in 2007.
2007. You're not aware of any dogs that were adopted out, say, last week or this month even?
No, well, I've had no contact up there. But, yeah, Lisa Sloan says they did.
Okay.
So.
Do they routinely adopt dogs out from people?
Not that I know of. They didn't any, and there was a dog named Sister B. She was a dog that I knew from 2007 that was still there. And there was another dog named Ted, the same thing.
Okay. And so they do adopt some dogs out sometimes. And who adopts these dogs? It's not local people. Is it people that they find on the internet, or is it people?
It could be local people, like Elisa Sloan said, she adopted one.
Okay.
But like if I wanted to go adopt a dog and it was an old dog, they would probably say yes. But in 2007, it was, I believe, the Texas Greyhound Association or GALT, Greyhound Adoption League of Texas, one of those two agencies.
So that agency, do they normally adopt dogs that are retired off the racetrack?
I really couldn't answer that one. I don't.
Because I think some of the dogs out here, I don't know if they come directly from people on the racetrack or if they come from an organization or not. But so this place actually adopted some dogs out here back in 2007.
They did. There was one called City Girl. My wife and I were talking about it today. City Girl and two more that were very special to us that did go out for adoption.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a good thing if they're healthy enough to be adopted out. So I don't know the procedures of all of the that's associated with a pet blood bank, but I did talk to one of the owners the other day, and they explained to me that dogs can only donate blood once a month, and so they're rotated out. They do the blood draws, I guess, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then they rotate them and keep track of it. And
yes.
Is that what your understanding is too?
Most of the time, they were behind in orders, and they were doing it like every third week for a while.
So you can actually draw blood. There's no law that says you can't draw it but once a month.
No, there should be.
There should be. So you can. Their policy might be once a month, but if they get in a bind and they get a shortage, one of their suppliers needs some blood, they can also draw blood more sooner than a month.
Yes.
If they need to.
Yes. And
you've seen them do that.
Yes.
Okay. And can you say what the shortest period of time is that you've seen them draw blood from a dog?
Once in about 3 weeks, instead of once in a month.
And they also also told me that the amount of blood they can draw is regulated by the dog's weight. I don't know what that formula is, but
I do have the chart that gives you the amount of blood that can be taken in relation to the weight.
And do they follow that out there pretty much?
I believe they do, yes.
Okay.
I believe they do.
Okay. Yeah, because I was told that the heavier the weight, the more you can take.
Yeah.
And so the thing, I think I read it online somewhere. It might have been on Peter's site or somebody. I'm not sure. The figure that they say that they draw 25% of the dog's blood out.
Yeah, I heard 20%.
20%. So there's a set number put on what they can take based on what the dog's weight is.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So they're not bleeding the dogs down to where. I think the article I read said that they bleed them down so much that they're about to pass out and all this other stuff. So that doesn't or does happen.
Some of them get very wobbly and are disoriented.
Okay.
You know, some of the lighter weight dogs, when they're sort of on the in between, you know, like a 50-pound dog would give 467 milliliters of blood.
Yeah.
But if you get a little bit under that, they would still draw the 467. And a lot of the dogs, not a lot of the dogs, but often you would see dogs that were quite disoriented, and you had to work to get them up on their feet again.
Okay.
Not often though. Not often. They generally stuck to the schedule.
Okay. So the main thing is not with the procedures, but it's the conditions out there is the main thing.
The conditions and the fact that these dogs have had as many ticks as they have had on them,
yeah.
and the blood is shipped out directly.
And do they test it?
No.
They don't do any testing here. Do they do testing wherever the blood goes?
It was going directly to animal hospitals. I mean, I've seen the shipping labels.
So it doesn't go to any facility that tests the blood. It just
No.
goes straight from this facility, Pet Blood Bank, and goes straight to the animal hospitals or whatever. And nobody tests it.
No.
Okay.
The dogs are tested before they come in, but no blood is tested before it goes out.
Okay. And how often do they test the dogs? Do they?
I've never seen them test the dogs once they're in there.
So they test them on initial receipt.
Yes.
And the other thing that was brought up too was that some of these photos were dogs that had been rescued and brought out here, and that was when they first received them. That's the condition they received them in. Is that true out there?
Yes.
Some of them.
I mean,
So the photos that you took, were those dogs that when they were received?
A lot of those dogs, most of the dogs that I took photos of had been there when I started.
They've been there, so they weren't freshly received.
No.
And came in that condition. They got in that condition once they.
Oh yeah, yes.
Okay.
They come in looking very nice, most of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And where do they get their dogs from?
I'm not exactly sure. Shane goes off and gets them, but
So he gets the dogs from wherever he gets them from.
yes.
Are the dogs, or are they considered a rescue, or are they?
Well, we had a little conversation about that, and he said that the greyhound industry is now charging way too much to make getting the dogs profitable. But if they can get them at a certain price, then they would buy them. Yes.
So the Greyhound Association, whoever it is, they're selling the dogs to the pet blood banks.
Best of my understanding, yes.
So there's an expense for him to get those dogs.
Yes.
So they're profiting off of it too.
Yes.
Do the same also. And in addition to adopt or getting dogs from the Greyhound Association, they also breed dogs out there?
Yes.
Are they bred on purpose?
Yes.
They are bred on purpose.
And I was told that they had an artificial insemination program that they tried at one point that didn't work out well.
Okay, so they're breeding dogs too then. I guess that cuts back on your expense.
I would think.
Purchasing dogs. And they can stay out there longer because they're not old.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about after you turned them in. I take it most people didn't know this was going on until the last, whatever it was, month or something. People knew about it, but the people in this area, I don't think many people in this area knew about it up until the last week when the big billboard showed up. Because I hadn't heard anything about it. Some could have known, but right now people in the area are very aware of it. So, what has the response been to you?
It's been very mixed, very, very mixed, and mixed on extremes, which I guess you kind of know. But I've had a few run-ins. I had garbage dumped in my thing in front of my yard, and I came home on Monday, September 25th, and I don't lock my doors, and someone had gone through my house and gone through a bunch of drawers and boxes and things, and. But,
okay. And has anyone threatened you?
Yes.
Here in Cherokee or?
In Llano. I was coming out of the grocery store and a guy threatened me, got in my face, and, basically said that if he thought he could get by with it, he would kill me for what I've done to the Alzheimers. Okay. I don't know who he was, and...
but he recognized you from this issue out here?
From my truck, I think, yes. It's very recognizable.
Oh, okay.
It's hit 4 deer.
And so he singled you out for this issue out here?
Yes.
A random run-in?
No.
So he said it was because of this out here. Okay. And, so you don't go in the Llano very often now?
No. I go in and I run back out as fast as I can.
Okay, because small towns, people recognize you.
Yes.
And I take it here in Cherokee, there's not a grocery store.
Oh, there is a small grocery store, but I'm definitely not going in that one. I was asked to go out the back door at the barbecue joint the last time I went in there.
By the owners?
Just by a gal behind the counter.
Guy behind the counter?
She said, there's a lot of people in here talking about you today. You may want to go out the back door.
So you were made to go out the back door at the local barbecue?
Well, I was asked to. I said, I will go out the door that I came in. Thank you very much.
Okay. And so Cherokee's a really small town, so everybody knows everybody, and everybody in town's going to know you.
Yes.
So what is the population here?
Peter said it was like 180, something like that. Yeah. Okay. I go by 200.
Llano's got I don't know what it is exactly, but it's still a considered small town too. So anyway, but so do you plan on staying around here?
No.
Nope. You're going to leave when you get a chance?
Yes.
And how do you feel now that you turn it in, as you say, to help the dogs? Do you have any regrets and wouldn't do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I would do it again.
Okay. And okay, and these are the photos that you personally took out there between December 2016 and June 2017.
Yes.
They were not none of these photos were taken before then.
No.
They were all taken at this time. Okay, you can show us some of the photos, and if you'll explain what they are. Okay.
Well, this photo was taken in December, I believe, and it shows the whole kennel run just completely wet, and the majority of this entire kennel was wet all the time.
Okay.
Because the drainage wasn't taken care of. And again, you can see big pools of water, dilapidated houses, and this is what we call pee pools, where the dogs will pee in one area, and we used to clean them up once a week, and these hadn't been cleaned in years. Frothy, multicolored pools, and again, big pools of water, different area, things falling down. The panels in between, a lot of them were falling down, and again, wet. Another pee pool, dog standing in their pee pool. This is a skinny dog. This is one of the dogs that I had to feed canned dog food to, and he had gotten very large rub sores on his rump. They had no bedding, it was cold, he was skinny as a rail, and they shiver. Not a good picture.
Okay, so on the part where the skin and stuff like that, they're naturally a thin-skinned dog, aren't they? And that's why they can take blood from them easily and that kind of stuff. And I was told by one of the people out there that they will get skin marks and sores just rubbing in the cage.
Yes.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, I brought that one dog in particular, and I went and talked to the owners and I said, these dogs need bedding. I said, they're getting sores all over them. And I was told, well, that's because they're shivery.
Okay.
And it's like, and that's, where do you go from there, you know? And there's a tick on, just a single tick. Not a good photo. And again, rub sores, they get them on their hocks, they get them on their sides. There's another example of an extremely skinny dog. You can see all the vertebrae, his ribs. He had a tumor. Again, another pee pool, more. This is some of the nails when I first got there.
So when you were there, you took care and trimmed some of the nails?
I trimmed every single nail that was long, and some of the dogs I had to trim them four times to get them down to where they were normal.
Okay.
One of the dogs actually had one that had grown up into its pad and was limping.
Okay.
Again, more wet stuff. Just things were falling apart. Not a good picture. And I found this often. I would come in, and the watering system had broken down, and this was to water 2 individual runs. And this dog over here could not access it.
So you fixed that?
Yes.
You were working there.
I checked the water every single day. A different dog with long nails. You can tell by the color of the fur that it's a completely different dog. Just disgustingly long nails. Bad gums. Just everywhere were bad gums. Just terrible gums. And we used to not draw blood on a dog that had periodontal disease because of the infection. And that was totally ignored. And I brought all these up to the owners. And this is a big mass. I don't know if it was cancer or what, but it was very runny and nasty. And I told them that, you know, this dog needs vet care. It needs to be looked at, and it never went. And this is a dog that died because it couldn't get to its water. I came in on Monday, and it had been dead at least 2 days. There was no eyes in the eye socket. And you can see he's completely desiccated.
And he was left in the kennel?
Yeah, he was left in his house. No one even noticed that he died. And this is why it was broken down. This is his neighbor dog. Again, he had one automatic watering system for two dogs. And I looked over, and this dog would look at me and then stick his nose up there like, you know, water. And I fixed it. And if you'd like to see a video, this is how that dog started drinking once I fixed it. And it goes quite a while. I don't know if you want to see the whole thing, but it goes and it goes and it goes. And at least, well, 2 dogs died because they couldn't get to the water in the 8 months that I was there. And I would often find the things broken down where one dog couldn't get to the water. But I was checking, you know, every time that I went through there, and none of the dogs died after that. But nobody checked the water, and I talked to the owners, said, tell these guys they need to check the water every day and see if the dog's alive. I thought that was a pretty minimal request. And this isn't all of it. He started drinking, and I actually had to go back, get my camera, and come back in, and I left before he was done drinking. So this is only a small portion of, well, not a small portion, but, and if you'll take note, you can look at his teeth and see how bad those are. But yeah, that was a dog that hadn't had water in a very long time. And I just, and then the next photo you can see that same dog that was drinking and the dead dog in his dog house behind him.
Okay.
Whoops. And that is what I did with the drainage. They had some in place back in 2007, but it had just all fallen apart. I reassembled it all and drained all the water out of the kennel.
Okay.
And it's on my Facebook page. It's a album that says "Drying Out the Kennel."
Okay.
But yeah, I put in all new drainage systems, and you may want to stop it right there because there's a lot of stuff in between. You can see it's dried out. It's much better, which is the way it should be. But nobody at the kennel maintained anything. Nothing at all. Nothing. As far as I could tell, anyway. One of my favorites, I have his collar in the backyard. He's one of the mixed breed hounds that was put down.
And all of these photos were taken out there.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
And within the time period, December 16 through July 17.
Yep.
So they're all taken at that facility during that period of time, not
Yes.
4 years ago?
No.
Okay.
Nope, and I signed a legal affidavit with PETA stating that.
Okay.
And I have a copy of it if you'd like to see it.
Was this photo here taken when you first went back out there, or after you had been out there a while?
All of these would probably be December, January, and into February.
So when you first got out there?
Yes, oh, exactly.
And you were in the process of clipping and whatever?
Yes. I used some of the GoFund money to buy a very heavy-duty pair of clippers that was spring-loaded, so I could do it in their kennels. You rub on them, and you just reach down and clip them. And it went very fast.
Okay, so they didn't have clippers out there for you to use? Or?
They probably did somewhere,
okay.
But some of the dog's nails were so big and heavy that I had to get an extra heavy, extra wide, ones that had extra wide bite on them, because they're just so big and heavy.
Okay.
And I don't know what they had. I didn't look. I didn't go in the trailer much.
Okay.
But I mean, you can see the length of these nails is just ungodly. There are 3 dogs that were raised out there. Their sire was a dog that's hopefully still out there named Chase Tuner.
Okay.
But none of these dogs have ear tattoos, and they were born out there. And I was told that by one of the co-workers.
So is an ear tattoo representative of a racing dog?
Yes.
It's not something they do out there?
No.
And these dogs didn't have tattoos?
And they don't have tattoos.
Okay.
And, well, I'm not even going to go into that part, but, and just, I don't know if you can see it, little pee pools and another little pee pool, and just really nice dog.